Uṣool Al-Ḥadeeth, The Methodology of Hadith Evaluation, by Dr. Abu Ameenah Bilal Phillips. 7. Grading. Hadiths were graded according to the number of narrators on each level of the Isnad into two main groups: Mutawaatir, and Aaḥaad. 1. Mutawaatir. Continuously recurrent. It is the report of a large number of narrators whose agreement on a lie is inconceivable on all levels of the Isnad, from the beginning until the end. According to the vast majority of scholars, the authority of the Mutawaatir Hadith is equivalent to that of the Quran. It creates certainty, yaqeen, and the knowledge it produces is equivalent to knowledge acquired through sense perception. The Mutawaatir may be further subdivided into two other groups: Mutawaatir bil-lafz, recurrent wording, and Mutawaatir bil-ma'na, recurrent meaning. A. Mutawaatir bil-lafz. All narrations must have identical wording. This type of Mutawaatir Hadith is extremely rare. There is a disagreement among scholars as to the exact number of verbally recurrent Hadiths. It is generally suggested that it does not exceed 10. An example of such a Hadith can be found in the following narration from the Prophet ﷺ. مَنْ كَذَّبَ عَلَيْهِ الْمُتَعَمِّدَ فَلْيَتَبَوَّأَ مِقْعَدَهُ مِنَ النَّارِ. Whoever lies about me deliberately should take his seat in the hellfire. This Hadith is narrated by over 70 companions in the same wording, and likewise those after them. B. Mutawaatir bil-ma'na. The conceptual Mutawaatir, wherein a large number of Hadith transmitters concur in the meaning but differ in wording or in form, is quite frequent. For example, the rituals of formal prayer, Hajj, fasting, quantities of zakah, qisas rules, etc., were witnessed by a large number of companions and were transmitted by multitudes down through the ages. Some scholars have made compilations of the Mutawaatir Hadiths. The most famous of them is Al-Azhar Al-Mutanathira by As-Suyuti. 2. Aaḥaad, solitary. Also known as the Khabar al-Wahid, the narration of an individual, it is a Hadith in which the numbers of narrators at any level of the Isnad do not reach anywhere near the minimum number for Mutawaatir Hadiths. Most scholars hold that it is a Hadith that does not impart positive knowledge, yaqeen, on its own, unless it is supported by extraneous or circumstantial evidence. Other scholars held that it constitutes knowledge which is derived from thorough study and systematic deduction, as opposed to knowledge based on unequivocal proof provided by Mutawaatir narration. According to Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal and others, Aaḥaad can engender positive knowledge, yaqeen. Some scholars have rejected it on the basis of an analogy they drew with a provision of the law of evidence, namely that the testimony of one witness falls short of legal proof. The majority of jurists, however, agree that Aaḥaad may establish a rule of law provided that it is related by a reliable narrator and the contents of the report are not repugnant to reason. Many scholars have held that Aaḥaad produces speculative knowledge, dhann, acting upon which is only preferable. In the event where other supportive evidence can be found in its favor, or when there is nothing to oppose its contents, then acting upon Aaḥaad is obligatory. However, according to the majority of the scholars of the four schools of law, acting upon Aaḥaad is obligatory even if Aaḥaad fails to create positive knowledge. Thus, in practical legal matters, a preferable conjecture is sufficient as a basis of obligation. Aaḥaad as evidence in Aqeedah. Regarding the use of Hadith as evidence, the Egyptian jurist Abu Zahra claimed that according to the majority of scholars, the Aaḥaad should not be relied upon as the basis of belief, Aqeedah. However, the texts of the Quran and the Sunnah, the way of the companions, and the sayings of scholars are all clear evidence to the necessity of accepting Hadith Aaḥaad in all matters of religion, whether laws or Aqeedah. To differentiate between them is an innovation, bid'ah, unknown among the Salaf. This is why Ibn al-Qayyim said, this differentiation is false. According to the consensus of the Ummah, the Muslim nation, this Ummah used to accept, and still does, these Hadiths in matters of the unseen, matters of aqidah, the same way it accepts them in matters of laws and actions. The reason being that even legal matters contain reports about Allah commanding such and prescribed it as a necessity of the religion. His laws and religion are a reflection of His names and attributes. The companions, the successors, their followers, and followers of Hadith and Sunnah all accept these reports in matters of the divine attributes, predestination, the names of Allah, and in laws. It has never been reported from any of them that they accepted Hadith Aaḥaad only in matters of laws and not in matters of Allah, His names, or His attributes. Therefore, where are the salaf of those who differentiate between these two, aqidah and laws? Yes, indeed, their salaf are some of Ahlul Kalam of later generations. These people had no interest in what Allah, His Messenger, and the companions have said. They hinder people's hearts from following the guidance of the Quran, the Sunnah, and the sayings of the companions regarding such matters. Instead, they refer to the sayings of Ahlul Kalam and the principles of those who seek to complicate matters. They have even claimed ijma', unanimity of scholars, on this rule. However, what they claimed to be ijma' was not recorded of any leading Muslim scholar, imam, nor was it recorded from any of the companions or the successors. We demand from them a valid differentiation between what can or cannot be accepted of Aaḥaad reports in matters of religion, supported by clear proof. However, they will never find anything to validate their differentiation between aqidah and laws. They will only find false claims. I'lam al-Muwaqqi'in. Sheikh Nasiruddin al-Albani addressed this differentiation as follows. Differentiating between matters of aqidah and laws with regards to accepting Hadith Aaḥaad is a philosophy alien to Islam. The righteous predecessors, the Salaf, including the four Imams that most Muslims follow today, did not know nor did they approve of such an alien philosophy. The ayat and hadiths contain matters of belief along with matters of law and sharia, Islamic jurisprudence. The texts of the Quran and the Sunnah make obedience to the Messenger ﷺ obligatory on Muslims. This obedience, no doubt, is contained in the Quranic verse, وَمَا كَانَ لِمُؤْمِنٍ وَلَا مُؤْمِنَةٍ إِذَا قَضَى اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَمْرًا أَنْ يَكُونَ لَهُمُ الْخِيرَةُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِمْ. It is not for a believer, man or woman, when Allah and His Messenger have decreed a matter, that they should have an option in their decision. Surah Al-Ahzab 33-36. This verse confirms the obligation of obeying the Messenger ﷺ and following him in matters of belief and laws without distinction. Also, Allah said, "And whatever the Messenger gives you, take it." Surah Al-Hashr 59:7. In this verse, whatever means everything, without exception, beliefs and laws. There are many other similar verses, all of which are mentioned by Imam Shafi'i in his book, Ar-Risala. The differentiation between aqidah and laws has no clear evidence to support it. Consequently, it is fundamentally false, and what is false in essence and beginnings can only produce false ends. The differentiation between aqidah and laws is based on the earlier mentioned claim that Aaḥaad hadiths only produces dhann, speculative knowledge. This dhann is considered rajih, closer to certainty than to falsehood, and therefore must be adhered to in matters of laws as agreed by all scholars. However, they claim that this dhann rajih cannot be accepted in matters of aqidah, belief, and the unseen. The following verses are usually quoted as evidence for this distinction. إِنْ يَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا الظَّنَّ وَمَا تَهْوَى الْأَنفُسُ. They follow nothing but a guess, dhann, and that which the souls desire. Surah An-Najm 53:23. And إِنَّ الظَّنَّ لَا يُغْنِي مِنَ الْحَقِّ شَيْئًا. Certainly, conjecture, dhann, can be of no avail against the truth. Surah Yunus 10:36. Allah criticizes the unbelievers for following conjecture and guessing in these and other similar verses. Those who use these verses as evidence have ignored the fact that the rejected dhann mentioned in these verses is not the dhann rajih of the Hadith Aaḥaad, which is accepted by scholars. The dhann mentioned in the above verses is a doubt that is built on guessing and conjecture. Al-Lisan and An-Nihaya, both classical Arabic dictionaries, define this kind of dhann as follows.
Dhann, a doubt that arises inside yourself, which you then take as certainty and refer to for judgment. This is the dhann that Allah criticized the disbelievers for believing in. What supports this meaning is the Quranic verse, إِن يَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا الظَّنَّ وَإِنَّهُمْ إِلَّا يَخْرُدُونَ. They only follow conjecture, dhann, and they do nothing but lie. Surah Al-An'am 6:116. Allah said that this rejected dhann is built on conjecture and doubt. If the dhann rejected in the above verses is the dhann rajih, as some claim, then this form of dhann cannot be accepted in matters of laws also, for the following two reasons. First, Allah strongly criticized the unbelievers for depending on dhann in all matters and did not differentiate between aqidah and laws. Second, in some verses, Allah specifically mentioned that the dhann that He criticized is in matters of laws also. For example, those who took partners with Allah will say, if Allah had willed, we would not have taken partners with Him, nor would our fathers, matters of aqidah and belief, and we would not have forbidden anything, matters of law. Likewise denied those who were before them, till they tasted of my wrath. Say, have you any knowledge that you can produce before us? Indeed, you follow nothing but conjecture, dhann, and you do nothing but lie. Surah Al-An'am 6:148. What further explains this Quranic verse is, say, O Muhammad, the things that my Lord has forbidden are the major evils, whether committed openly or secretly, sins, oppression, worshipping others besides Allah without authority to do so, and saying things about Allah of which you have no knowledge. Surah Al-A'raf 7:33. These verses confirm that the rejected dhann is the dhann that linguistically means doubts, guessing, conjecture, and sayings that are not based on knowledge. According to the above verses, this kind of dhann is rejected in matters of both belief and laws. That being the case, all verses and hadiths that make it obligatory on Muslims to accept hadith aaḥaad in matters of laws also make it obligatory to accept them in matters of aqidah. Actually, the claim that aqidah cannot be taken from hadith aaḥaad is itself an aqidah, for which unequivocal and undisputable proof for its validity must be produced. Otherwise, those who believe it fall into self-contradiction. They cannot produce such evidence because their claim is built on dhann, doubts and guessing, which are rejected in matters of laws, and even more so in matters of aqidah. Thus, they have fallen into a worse situation than what they sought to escape from. They tried to escape the dhann rajih by following dhann marjuh, rejected dhann. Then take admonition, O you with eyes to see. Surah Al-Hashr 59:2. They ended up in misguidance because they rejected the light and guidance of the Quran and the Sunnah, and instead followed men's opinions and ideas. Evidence for hadith aaḥaad in matters of aqidah. There are many proofs that specifically make obligatory accepting hadith aaḥaad in aqidah. First, Allah said, and it is not proper for all the believers to go out to fight. Out of every batch, a group of individuals should remain behind, that they may get instruction in religion, and warn their people when they return to them, so they may beware. Surah At-Tawbah 9:122. In this verse, Allah encouraged the believers to have a group from among them to stay with the Prophet ﷺ to learn their religion from him. There is no doubt that this rule applies not only to matters of laws and commandments, but also to matters of aqidah. Furthermore, the teacher and his pupil must start with the most important aspects of the religion, and then what is of lesser importance. Also, it is certain that matters of aqidah, belief and the unseen, are more important than matters of laws and commandments. Therefore, Allah encouraged this group from among the believers to learn the religion in matters of both aqidah and law. Also, He ordered them to warn their people when they returned to them by teaching them matters of both aqidah and law. If matters of aqidah cannot be taken from hadith aaḥaad along with matters of law, why did Allah encourage the group of individuals to warn their people? This Quranic verse contains a clear indication that knowledge can be obtained through the groups warning their people. Therefore, the above-mentioned Quranic verse clearly demonstrates that solitary hadiths must be accepted in matters of belief and laws. Second, Allah said, وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ, and follow not that which you have no knowledge of. Surah Al-Isra 17:36. It is well known that Muslims since the time of the companions followed and accepted Hadith Aaḥaad in laws, belief, and matters of the unseen, such as the creation, signs of the last day, and Allah's attributes, etc. If these Hadith Aaḥaad are not to be accepted with certainty in matters of belief and the unseen, then the companions, Tabi'un, the second generation of Islam, and all the leading scholars of Islam have all followed that of which they had no real knowledge. As Imam Ibn al-Qayyim said, no true Muslim could utter such nonsense. Third, Allah said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, in ja'akum fasiqun binaba'in fatabayyanu. O you who believe, if a rebellious evil person comes to you with a news, verify it. Surah Al-Hujurat 49:6. This Quranic verse used the word tabayyanu, and in another recitation, tathabbatu, which both mean verify it. This Quranic verse implies that if a truthful Muslim brought a report, then the news must be taken with certainty. Tathabbut, verifying, in this case is not obligatory on Muslims. Rather, it must be accepted at once. As a result, Ibn al-Qayyim said, this Quranic verse means that the Aaḥaad report is to be accepted without the necessity of verification. If this report did not lead to certainty, then verification would have been ordered until certainty was achieved. Evidence for this understanding can be found in the fact that the Salaf and outstanding scholars of Islam used to always say, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, did, ordered, or forbade such and such. They were well known for this mode of speech. One reads in many places in Sahih al-Bukhari, the most correct book after Allah's book, the phrase, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said. The term said is an expression of certainty. Otherwise, Imam al-Bukhari would have said, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ was reported to have said. Likewise, many hadiths narrated by the companions contain the phrase, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, even though the companion who narrated the hadith only heard it from another companion and not directly from the Prophet ﷺ. The statement, the Prophet ﷺ said, is a testimony from the narrator that he accepts with certainty that the Messenger ﷺ did or said what the report says he did or said. If the Aaḥaad report does not lead to certainty, then the companion or the narrator has followed that which he has no knowledge of, and used it as a proof coming from the Messenger ﷺ. I'lam al-Muwaqqi'in. Fourth, the Sunnah of the Messenger ﷺ and his companions confirm that Aaḥaad reports are acceptable in matters of Aqidah. The Sunnah of the Messenger ﷺ and his companions during the Messenger's life and after his death unequivocally confirm that there is no difference between Aqidah and laws if both are narrated in Hadith Aaḥaad. The Sunnah confirms that the Hadith Aaḥaad is a proof in itself in all matters of belief and law. The following are some examples of authentic hadiths that prove this point. Imam al-Bukhari wrote in his book, chapter Accepting the Aaḥaad report by a truthful man in adhan, prayer, fasting, inheritance, and laws, and Allah saying, out of every batch a group of individuals should remain behind, that they may get instruction in religion and warn their people when they return to them, so they may beware. Surah At-Tawbah 9:122. A single man may be referred to as a group, ta'ifa, because Allah said, وَإِن طَائِفَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ اقْتَتَلُوا فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا. And if two groups among the believers fight, reconcile between them. Surah Al-Hujurat 49:9. If two individual men fought each other, they are also addressed by this Quranic verse. Also, O you who believe, if a corrupt person comes to you with a news, verify it. Surah Al-Hujurat 49:6. The Prophet ﷺ continuously sent governors to the provinces and leaders for the armies, one after another. If one of them forgot the Sunnah, he would be reminded of it and would have to accept it without verification. Afterwards, Al-Bukhari narrated many hadiths to support the acceptance of Aaḥaad reports. He wanted to prove that Aaḥaad reports must be adhered to and accepted with certainty. The following are some of these hadiths, followed by my explanation. 1. Malik ibn al-Huwayrith said, some young men of around the same age came to the Prophet ﷺ and stayed with him for about 20 days. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ was very merciful and kind to us. When he felt that we missed our families and felt homesick, he asked about those of our families whom we left behind, and we told him about them. He then said, go back to your families and stay with them, teach them, instruct them to do good, and pray as you saw me pray. The Messenger ﷺ ordered each of these young men to teach his family. Teaching contains matters of belief. The first of what is contained in the meaning of teaching must be Aqidah. If the Aaḥaad report was not accepted, then this order of the Prophet ﷺ would have been empty of any meaning. 2. Anas ibn Malik said that people of Yemen came to the Messenger of Allah ﷺ saying, send someone with us to teach us Islam and the Sunnah. The Messenger ﷺ took hold of Abu Ubaidah's hand and said, this is the trusted man of this ummah. If Aaḥaad reports were not accepted with certainty, then the Prophet ﷺ would not have sent Abu Ubaidah by himself to Yemen. The same can be said about other occasions when the Prophet ﷺ sent other companions, like Ali, Mu'adh, and Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, to Yemen and other provinces. There is no doubt that these emissaries of the Prophet ﷺ taught those who received them Aqidah, along with other matters of the religion. If their reports were not accepted and were not a proof against those who received these companions, the Prophet ﷺ would not have sent them one after another, as this would have been a wasted effort. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ would never fall into such a situation as this. And this is what Imam al-Shafi'i meant when he said in his book Ar-Risalah, the Prophet ﷺ would not send anyone carrying his instructions unless the report of the one carrying the message was certain proof, either for or against those who received it. He could have sent for them and addressed them directly, or he could have sent many companions. Instead, he sent to them a single companion who was known to be trustworthy. 3. Abdullah ibn Umar said, while the inhabitants of Kuba were praying Fajr, a man came to them and said, verses of the Quran have been revealed to the Messenger ﷺ tonight, and he was ordered to face the Kaaba during prayer, so face it. Their faces were towards Sham, but they turned their faces towards Kaaba. This hadith is textual evidence that the companions accepted the Aaḥaad report that nullified facing Jerusalem during prayer. If they did not accept the Aaḥaad report with certainty, why would they contradict what they knew for certain concerning their original prayer direction? Ibn al-Qayyim noted, furthermore, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ did not criticize them. On the contrary, they were praised for this action. 4. Sa'id ibn Jubair related that he informed Ibn Abbas that Nawf al-Bakkali was claiming that Moses, the companion of Al-Khidr, was not Moses of the Israelites. Ibn Abbas replied, that enemy of Allah has lied. Ubay ibn Ka'b informed me that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ stood and said ... and he mentioned the hadith of Moses and Al-Khidr in a way that proves that Moses, sent to the children of Israel, was the same Moses who accompanied Al-Khidr. Ash-Shafi'i said, Ibn Abbas, as knowledgeable and pious as he was, accepted the report by Ubay ibn Ka'b from the Messenger of Allah ﷺ. He even called a Muslim a liar. This is because Ubay ibn Ka'b told him from the Prophet ﷺ, what clearly indicates that Moses, who was sent to the children of Israel, was the same one who accompanied Al-Khidr. The above saying by Imam al-Shafi'i is clear evidence that he did not differentiate between Aqidah and laws with regards to Aaḥaad reports. To decide whether Moses of the children of Israel was the companion of Al-Khidr or not is a matter of the unseen and not a matter of laws and actions, as is evident. What further supports this conclusion is that Ash-Shafi'i included an important chapter in his book, Ar-Risalah, entitled Chapter Evidence for the Necessity of Accepting the Aaḥaad Report. In this chapter, he introduced many general proofs from the Quran and the Sunnah, which confirm that the Aaḥaad report must also be accepted in matters of Aqidah. Furthermore, the Imam's explanations of these proofs are general and include accepting Hadith Aaḥaad in matters of Aqidah. He ended the chapter with the following statement. There are many Hadiths with regards to accepting the Aaḥaad report. I have introduced sufficient evidence to this fact. This is the way of our Salaf and the generations that followed until our current generation. This is the correct way. Also, this understanding is what has been reported to us from scholars in other countries. The meaning of this statement is general enough to include the acceptance of Aaḥaad reports in matters of Aqidah. Ash-Shafi'i also said, if anyone was permitted to say that all Muslim scholars of the past and present, without exception, have agreed to accept the Aaḥaad report and adhere to it, I would be the one to do so. However, I can only say, I do not know of any Muslim scholar who disagreed on the matter of accepting the Aaḥaad report. Ibn al-Qayyim further said, some of them say the major matters, Uṣool, are matters concerning the unseen, Aqidah, and the minor matters, Furu', are matters concerning laws. This is indeed a false claim. Two basics are required in matters of laws: knowledge that Allah revealed the law and made it obligatory, and adherence. The same basics are required for matters of the unseen. Adherence in matters of the unseen can be attained by the love or hatred felt by the heart. The heart must feel love for the truth that these reports of the unseen contain, and hatred for misguidance that opposes what they contain. Actions are not only required of the limbs. On the contrary, action taken by the limbs follows actions taken by the heart. Actions of the heart are the basis for actions performed by the limbs. All matters of the unseen require belief, acceptance, and love felt in the heart for them. These are all actions of the heart, and this is the basis of all actions of the limbs. This is a fundamental principle concerning matters of belief that so many people of Ahlul Kalam have ignored. They considered belief to consist of matters of acceptance, but not matters of action. The above error is a major mistake. Many disbelievers believed that the Prophet ﷺ was truthful, and they did not doubt this fact. This belief, however, was not coupled with the actions that must be taken by the heart, loving what the Messenger ﷺ was sent with, accepting, approving, and being loyal to it, and disassociation from those who defy it. Do not ignore this subject, because it is very important, and, by knowing it, you will understand the essence of Iman. All matters of belief contain actions, and all matters of actions contain belief. The legislator, Allah, did not require only the performance of actions without belief, nor did He require only the belief in matters of the unseen without actions. What we can understand from what Ibn al-Qayyim has explained above is that differentiating between Aqidah and laws is false according to the consensus of scholars. It is false because it opposes the way of the Salaf and the meanings of the evidences I presented. It is also false because those who follow this methodology do not realize that belief is connected to action and actions are connected to belief. This is a very important matter that helps the believer to clearly understand this subject with certainty, and to refute the false principle of differentiation between Aqidah and laws. The Aaḥaad hadiths may be further subdivided into three main categories: Mashhur, Aziz, and Gharib, according to the numbers of narrators at different levels of the chain. A. Mashhur, well known, is a narration that has a minimum of 3 or more transmitters in every level, like the following hadith. إن الله لا يقبض العلم انتزاعا ينتزعه من العباد ولكن يقبض العلم بقبض العلماء. Allah will not take away knowledge from people by snatching it, but by taking away the scholars. The Mashhur is further explained as a hadith which is originally reported by one or more companions, but has later become well known and transmitted by an indefinite number of people. It is necessary that the diffusion of the report should have taken place during the first or the second generation, i.e., during the period of the companions and the successors, after the Prophet's death. For Abu Hanifa and his followers, the Mashhur hadith imparts positive knowledge, yaqeen, though of a lesser degree of certainty than the Mutawaatir. but the majority of other jurists consider the mashhur to be included in the category of Aaḥaad, imparting only speculative knowledge, dhann. According to Hanafites, acting on the mashhur is obligatory, but its denial does not amount to disbelief. It should be noted that the term mashhur is also used to refer to popular hadiths among scholars from various different fields that may or may not fulfill the technical requirements. For example, among legal scholars, the following hadith is commonly quoted. أَبْغَضُ الْحَلَالِ إِلَى اللَّهِ الطَّلَاقِ. The most detestable of the halal things in Allah's sight is divorce. Among the outstanding books written on popular hadiths is Al-Maqasid Al-Hasana by As-Sakawi, Kashf Al-Khafa by Al-Ajluni, and Tamyiz Al-Tayyib min Al-Khabith by Ash-Shaybani. B. Aziz, strong stroke rare, is a narration that has at least 2 transmitters in every level. Some scholars did not distinguish between mashhur and aziz. The following hadith is a good example of this type of narration. لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب إليه من الوالده وولده والناس أجمعين. None of you truly believes until I become dearer to him than his parents, his children, and all humankind. This hadith was narrated from Anas ibn Malik by Qatada and Abdul Aziz ibn Suhaib. From Qatada, it was narrated by Shu'bah and Sa'id, and from Abdul Aziz by Ismail ibn Ulayya and Abdul Warith. Following that, many others narrated it. Scholars did not produce any works dedicated to compiling Aziz narrations, primarily because there was no significant benefit from such a compilation. C. Gharib, strange, is a narration which has a single transmitter at any point in the isnad after the companion narrator. Some scholars, like Ibn Hajar, use the term fard as a synonym for gharib, while others consider them to be separate classifications. In accordance with the position of occurrence of the single narrator, the gharib is subdivided into 2 categories, gharib mutlaq and gharib nisbi. 1. Gharib mutlaq, absolutely single. This category is also known as fard mutlaq, and it refers to a hadith in which the single narrator is at the beginning of the sanad. That is, the hadith is narrated by a single companion from the Prophet ﷺ. An example of such a narration is the well-known hadith of Umar ibn al-Khattab, in which he quoted the Messenger of Allah ﷺ as saying, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Indeed, deeds are judged according to their intentions. 2. Gharib nisbi, relatively single. This category refers to a hadith which has a single narrator in the generations after the companions. In other words, more than one companion narrated it, but in at least one generation of narrators, it was related by a single narrator. An example of this type can be seen in the following narration. حدثنا عبد الله بن يوسف أخبرنا مالك عن ابن شهاب عن أنس بن مالك رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم دخل عام الفتح وعلى رأسه المغفار، فلما نزعه جاء رجل فقال: إن ابن خطل متعلق بأستار الكعبة، فقال اقتلوه. It is from Malik, from Ibn Shihab, from Anas ibn Malik, that the Messenger of Allah entered Mecca in the year of the conquest wearing a helmet. When he removed it, a man came and said that Ibn Khatal was clinging to the curtain of the Kaaba. He said, "Kill him." Imam Malik was the single narrator of this hadith from Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri, and he was from the generation of the students of the successors. The category of gharib nisbi may be applied to a hadith for a variety of other reasons. A. A single narrator who is graded thiqah, reliable. B. A specific single narrator from another specific single narrator. Hadith scholars say, so-and-so is the sole narrator from so-and-so. C. Single narrations from people of a specific town or region. Hadith scholars say, the sole narrators of this hadith are the people of Mecca or Syria. D. Narrations by people of a specific area from other people of a specific area. The most well-known text written on gharib hadiths is that of Imam ad-Daraqutni called Gharaib Malik. The fiqh value of Hadith Aaḥaad. With regard to the use of Aaḥaad as evidence, Abu Hanifa added the condition that the narrator's action should not contradict his narration. On the basis of this principle, Abu Hanifa rejected the hadith of Abu Huraira, in which he quoted the Prophet ﷺ as saying, "If a dog licks one of your dishes, wash it 7 times, one of which with clean earth." Since the requirement of washing is normally 3 times, the report is considered weak, including its attribution to Abu Huraira. On the other hand, the majority of scholars took the view that discrepancies between the action and the report of a narrator may be due to forgetfulness or some other unknown factor. Discrepancies of this kind do not, by themselves, provide conclusive evidence to render the report unreliable. Hanafite jurists further require that the subject matter of the Aaḥaad is not such as to necessitate the knowledge of a vast number of people. Consequently, they reject the hadith that anyone who touches his privates must make wudu, arguing that if it was authentic, it would have become an established practice among all Muslims, which was not the case. The majority of jurists, however, do not insist on this requirement on the analysis that people who witness or observe an incident do not necessarily report it. For example, it is known that countless thousands of people saw the Prophet ﷺ performing Hajj, and yet not many reported their observations. Hanafites also maintain that when a narrator of Aaḥaad is not a jurist, faqih, his report is accepted only if it agrees with qiyas. Otherwise, qiyas would be given priority over Aaḥaad. On the other hand, if he were a jurist, his report would be given preference over qiyas. As a result, Hanafite jurists reject the hadith of prohibiting musarrat. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Do not retain milk in the udders of a she-camel or a goat so as to exaggerate its yield. Anyone who buys such an animal has the choice for 3 days after milking it, either to keep it or to return it, along with a sa' of dates." Hanafite jurists regard this hadith to be contrary to qiyas, on the rule of equality between indemnity and loss, as the sa' of dates may not be equal in value to the amount of milk the buyer consumed. The majority of scholars, including Malik, Ash-Shafi'i, Ibn Hanbal, and the students of Abu Hanifa, Abu Yusuf and Zufar, on the other hand, accepted the hadith and gave it priority over qiyas. Imam Malik would rely on the Aaḥaad on condition that it did not contradict the practice of the Madinites, because he considered the standard practice of the people of Medina to be more representative of the conduct of the Prophet ﷺ than an isolated report of 1 or 2 individuals. In his view, the Madinite practice represented the narration of countless thousands of people from the Prophet ﷺ. It was, in other words, equivalent to a mashhur or Mutawaatir hadith. Consequently, Malikite jurists rejected the option of cancellation, khiyarul majlis, which provides that the parties to a sale are free to change their minds so long as they have not gone their separate ways, because this was contrary to the practice of the Madinites. Hanafites rejected Aaḥaad reports if they contradicted the obvious meanings of the Quran. For example, the Prophet ﷺ said, "There is no prayer for whoever does not read the Fatiha." This hadith is authentic and is collected by Al-Bukhari and Muslim. Followers of the Hanafi madhab rejected this hadith, saying that it is in opposition to Allah's statement, فَقْرَؤُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ. So recite as much of the Quran as may be easy for you. Surah Al-Muzammil 73:20. However, the leader of hadith scholars, Imam al-Bukhari, said in the beginning of chapter Book on Reciting that this hadith is Mutawaatir from the Messenger of Allah ﷺ. In such a case, the Hanafites should have benefited from the knowledge of this Imam who specialized in hadith. They should have changed their ruling that this hadith is Aaḥaad. They could have accepted this hadith, joined it with the Quranic verse, and said that the hadith is restricting the general meaning of the Quranic verse. This could be said, in spite of knowing that this Quranic verse is actually about the voluntary prayer at night, and not about what one must read in the compulsory prayer.